letting go of other people's opinions and letting go of that need for that validation, because there's never enough validation from outside to fill you up. There's
No.
never enough compliments. And if you
Oh
chase
gosh.
that, you're just going to be hitting your head against the wall for eons, you know? So just get it from the source, you know,
Mm-hmm.
start giving it to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
The source is you, you know, that's what I mean when I say that. Like when you do something good, congratulate yourself, bask in that, make sure you celebrate. We
Mm-hmm.
have a tendency to brush things aside. Write down in your 5-year journal so you can look back and see all your gains and celebrate that and feel
Yeah.
confident in that.
And your core values come into that too, I think, because the more that you spend time sitting in that and knowing what you do value, it's easier to let go of other people's opinions
Absolutely.
because you can take it. You have a mirror right there to say
Yep,
like
for
what,
sure.
you know, what's important to you. And if it doesn't align other people's opinions, it
That
doesn't
value,
matter. Like,
yeah, the value exercise that we have in our module.
mm-hmm.
The
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Life After Kids with Doctors Brooke and Lynn. I'm Dr. Brooke.
And I'm Dr. Lynn.
Thank you so much. Oh, she's finding the perfect place for the plant again.
There we go.
Thank you so much for joining us, ladies.
That was my crazy on display.
If you saw it. Thank you for joining us. We're so happy to have you here as always. We are in for another kind of deep topic again today. Here we go. I don't know why we did this to ourselves.
Come on. I mean, I know. I'm just like, let's get a People magazine out here and just like go through it and talk about it sometime.
That would be amazing.
Really? I thought you were going to like turn your lip up at that.
Mm-mm.
No?
No, I'm always here for the light topics. I feel like Dr. Lynn and I we sit down to plan our topics, and I'm always trying to lean to like the frivolous stuff. And you're like, yeah, but we got to give them
some things to think about.
Heady things. So yeah.
No, I think
so this time I went all in on
I
the
think
heady.
there's a good balance. Well, the years that we've done that, I mean, the episodes that we've done that, I mean, those are some of our better episodes for sure, but there's nothing wrong with keeping it light. And I just feel like, yeah, I mean, I think I've already said this, but like, it doesn't have to be so hard. Like life is just have fun.
For real?
For real.
I do not
Well, and we have
disagree
a
with
lot
that
of
comment.
women that comment on that too, when there's women that are struggling, and that's not necessarily the best advice. When somebody's going through a hard time, just have fun. Just like, what's wrong with you? Go get a life. Like that's not necessarily helpful. But sometimes, so in those instances, you do need like to think through things and have some more basically reflection type
Yeah.
topics. And but then there's, you know, this we have a lot of good things about this phase of life, and there's a lot of fun to be had.
Agreed. 100%.
But we're not having that today.
We're not. No. So if you want to have some fun, you don't want serious, just basically tune out.
No,
we're
don't
gonna have
go.
fun.
Don't leave us.
We always have fun.
We always have fun. You'll have fun. You'll learn something. Learning is fun. Oh my gosh.
Says the learner.
Yeah, right. No, I said that very sarcastically as well, by the way. Okay, so we're talking about, now this is actually really very relevant for women because for so long, I know myself personally that I've given a lot of weight to other people's opinions of me. I try to say, oh, it doesn't matter what other people think. Or my husband would say, why are you so worried about what they think? And it's not as easy as just an on and off switch, right?
Right.
And I think in letting go of others' views of you, their opinions of you, and standing in what matters the most for you and being brave enough to defend that, I guess, against other people's opinions. I think in that process, you also find your voice. We talk about finding your voice.
Yeah. Being authentic and letting the real you shine. And you will never be able to be authentic and be yourself if you're constantly chasing after other people's opinions and what they think that you should do in your life.
Yeah. Do you, I mean, is this, I know this is my topic. So is this something that you've had been at odds with throughout your
Oh,
life?
I'm still at odds with it. I think we talked about this loosely in one of our prior episodes of like learning to let go of, because I again, and I shared this, but I'll go back to it, and I equate this to me being an Enneagram 6 who spends a lot of time in her head unproductively, and not in her gut, doesn't have that strong sense of like a gut intuition, and like very indecisive. So because of that, I'll lean on other people to like point me in the direction if I'm not sure which way I should go. And it could be something big in life. It could be something as simple as how I want to decorate my wall. And I think because I've done that so much, just because I don't always have a clear sense of
Yeah.
the decisions I want to make or what I want to do, it lends itself to being sort of at the mercy of what other people think of you.
Yeah. So with the Enneagram, we always talk about it shouldn't put you in a box, right? And
Right.
you don't use it as an excuse. It's a jumping point for growth.
Mm-hmm.
You learn something about yourself and how you're wired, and then you take that information, and that's how you know where to start when you're trying to learn and grow.
And that's what
Right?
and that's exactly what I'm saying there, is that I think it's given me enough self-awareness. Like we always say self-awareness is the first place to start, like becoming aware of a issue, problem, struggle, whatever you want to call it, something that you want to work on.
Yeah.
And so just knowing that about myself and being able to take a step back and see that.
Yes. So with the different Enneagram types, and I mean, we know this as humans, you feel something in your head or you think something through. You can be very head centric. You can be very heart centric. That's the other place that we make a lot of our decisions and we
Out of
come from
emotion.
with our perspective, our
Yep.
life perspective. And then we also make a lot of choices and um, behaviors come from our gut. So they're connected. And as humans, we have access to all three.
Right.
So for me, I'm very much in my gut. So I try to access my heart more because my head comes easy,
Yep.
So usually we have one that we're sort of have to kind of bump up a little bit, give a little love to.
Yeah.
So it's there. I mean, just make sure we always say your words matter. And, I just heard you, and I think you're just describing it for people so they understand. But make sure I say this to you because I want everyone listening to understand this too. Make sure what you're saying about yourself after you learn it doesn't become a self fulfilling prophecy because you just repeat it over and over.
Yeah, I think that I'm glad you said that, because I do think that is a problem. You have to watch, and I talk about this in the book, watching the words that you speak over your life and yourself, because they're powerful, and what you say you start to believe. But in this case, for me at least, I'm saying it because I realize that it's a problem for me that I need to work on. So also acting like it's not there and just saying that you're different doesn't make it so.
No.
So if I
I
were to
think
sit here and
it's,
say I'm in my, I'm just speaking what it is, what it is.
yeah.
And I'm
So
not
you
saying
just have to work a little harder. It's there. Your gut is there. You just have to work a little harder to access it than your heart or your head.
that's one of the biggest priorities for me. I don't have this written in my framework, but I guess it probably could be there, is just a better, more discernment for myself, more discretion for myself. And I just had it unpacked this with my husband, and just some things that have come up for me. And he actually said to me, like, he's like, I was going to give the backstory, but you don't need to know the backstory. He was like, what I want for you more than anything is like, cause I was struggling with something. And he was like, what I want for you is to decide your next step based on what you want, and not what that person tells you you want, and not what I tell you want.
Mm-hmm.
Cause they were both saying something different. He was like, what do you like, finding the right thing and owning it for yourself? And I don't know if this comes to what we're talking about. It might be a totally different conversation. But anyway, that's why I say, like, I see that more and more about myself, that I tend to rely on like, for example, I might, this is such a frivolous example, but if I had somebody that I valued in my life, and say I had like something, say I put something on my wall. Let's just make it simple,
Yep.
like a piece of artwork
Keep
or
it
something
easy.
that I really, really loved. And then I just did this the other day because our real estate agent that sold the home, hope she's not listening, came in to like give a late gift because we bought the house a while
Yeah.
ago. But, like just something like a celebratory thing. It was around the holiday. And like she literally said nothing about the house. And I left, which was fine. She didn't have to, but she left. And even my husband came home and he was like, "Oh, so what did so and so say?" Like, was she like, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing, guys?" And I was like, literally, she said nothing. And literally the whole day, then I was like, "Oh, I didn't do a good enough. Like, why did I put that there? Why didn't I decorate?" And if someone would say specifically, "Oh, I would never have picked that artwork," or something, or even if I just read it off of them, then I'd be like, "Why did I get that piece of artwork?" What was I thinking? When I really might have liked
Yeah.
it. So I don't know. I do think that's a piece of like maybe that's a much lighter version of the conversation we want to have.
No, I
But
don't
it's
know. I
definitely a
mean,
piece of letting go of people's opinions because if you love that piece of artwork, even if it's like crazy looking, then you love that piece of
yeah,
artwork.
I don't
And
think
that's okay.
I don't think that's light, and I think that's more of how it shows up for people, not being able to let go of other people's opinions.
Yes.
I mean, I can give you those examples too. Like, I think it's for me, I know what I like and I know it's nice. Like, so because I like it,
Mm-hmm.
I don't question that, but I crave that. I crave that feedback, that external validation. Like, I just crave people to tell me what I know to be true is true.
Yeah.
Well, why do I need that?
Yeah.
Right. And it, you can go back. A lot of it is like childhood stuff or whatever. You usually have one parent who's, holds back a little bit more or whatever. And so you're trying through these other little outlets to get the, I mean, it's so dramatic, but to get the love or the compliments or the validation's the best word that I can think of
Yeah.
from these random people
Right.
to tell you that you're worthy of love, right? Or you're good
Yeah.
enough.
It's so funny because it does show up. I think our poor parents, and I don't mean specifically mine and your parents, but all of our poor parents, because
Yeah.
to some extent, because you can like blame pretty much anything on them in life. And for me,
I
I'm
do.
thinking, but like in my case, what I just shared, like if you have a parent that's like, well, that's stupid. I like that looks dumb, or, that's very like
Honest
opinion and not
or
afraid to tell
opinionated.
you what her opinion is, then you get to like, oh, it's right, like, can you see how you would get why we have two different perspectives on that?
Yeah. So then you just never know. You just never, you always question your choice. Is that what you're saying?
I think you could.
Yes.
But I'm just saying, who knows? I'm not a psychologist, but I just think it's just interesting to think back and, try to start to wrap your brain around why you are the way you are. And anyway.
I think at this phase though, we get a little tired of that. We've grown weary of it.
Of what? Holding on to people's opinions?
Yeah, letting it have power over us.
Well, I mean, it's really is just a case of like, if you really want, this is what life after kids is about. This community is being fulfilled in your life and living a meaningful life. And you're not going to get there if you're too wrapped up in what everybody else is thinking of you.
Right, because you're too busy chasing what you think they want, instead of really listening to your heart, to your head, to your gut about what it is that you want more than anything for your days and for your future.
Yes. And and I think part of the problem there is so many of us also can feel lonely, and we're craving, even if you don't feel lonely, we crave connection. We crave connection and relationship. And there's a book that I read, and I believe it was Brene Brown. It might be The Gifts of Imperfection, where she talked about, it was an aha thing for me, where like we want to fit in. And so we want to insert ourselves places where we fit in. And if you're trying to fit in, you're letting other people's opinions of you, because you're going to act in a way that you fit in.
Right.
Whereas what we should be doing is finding places where we belong. And when you take, those are two different things. They sound the same, but if you look closer at them, they're two different things. And when you find places you belong, it's you're not so wrapped up in.
Yeah. I think that's tricky because I think you could set up this false expectation that there's like these perfect little groups out there for you and you just haven't found it yet.
Yeah, that's fair too.
Because honestly, you don't need to fit in. You just need to be who you are. And when you are who you are and you're around people that like reverberate with that or
Hold space for it.
resonate with that, then you're in where you are where you belong.
Yes.
But I think also, even within those groups, there are times, I mean, it's never like, it's not like, oh, I've arrived and I've found this group. Like, there are times where you differ and your opinions differ, and somebody may have influence over you because of something they think that's differently, or, you know, so ultimately what I'm getting at is it's seeking that letting go of being conscious of the fact that like you're looking for that validation or that
Yeah.
opinion to back up what you feel,
Yeah.
and just letting go of that and being okay with it. Like the other day, I rarely post on social media. And the other day I put a
Except
post
we
up.
do it daily on Life After Kids.
Yeah, that's right. Oh my gosh, I do. I do it for a living, actually. Never mind.
Which is why
Personally,
you don't post.
personally,
Same as
right.
me.
Personally. But I did put something up about something, and I won't even tell you what it is. And it was like, I just, you just know the people that like are, okay, I'm fishing here. I want a little, like, I'm looking for a little love, right? Like you're putting up a post and you're
Meaning that's what you
expecting
were
the
doing?
comments back. So I'm really cognizant of that. Like I just sort of have that gives me the ick.
Yes.
Okay. So I try not to do that. So I sort of went the opposite route. I usually do, as in like, I very stoic and like, here's the facts. And this is for people that like, may want to be aware of this is what's happening. But it was an emotional, proud day, so you kind of expect a little bit of personalized feedback.
Yep.
And I didn't really get it. But one, I hardly post on Facebook. So you have to be on there for people to see your things, number one. And number two, I got like many compliments. It wasn't, and comments. It just wasn't precisely what I was looking for, but I also didn't ask for that,
Mm.
you know? But it twerked me a little bit. Like it tweaked me off a little bit. And then it's like, you know what? This is a good thing. Again, you don't need that. You wanted that in the moment, but feeding that feeding into you is again another distraction from the fact that like it doesn't matter what they think. Did you appreciate that? Was this a success for you? I'm asking myself these
Yes.
questions. And as long as it's just another opportunity to practice like, okay, I felt very good about that. I feel very proud about that. Look at my gap versus my gain. Look
Yeah.
how much I've gained. This was amazing. I know this is good. Here's the validation that I need from the right people, like the actual experts in the field, not the onlookers that really don't even know what they would be talking about, even if they
Yes.
were to comment, right?
Yeah. I'm having trouble speaking to it because I'm not sure. I never saw the post. So I'm not sure what you're talking about, but I could see that, like, if nothing else, if it tweaked you because you didn't get, I'm assuming it was like a post where you wanted somebody to say, like, well done, or that's really cool or something.
Yeah, sure.
Is that
Yeah,
kind of the gist of
kind of.
it?
Yeah.
I'm not trying to put words in your
Right.
mouth. I'm just trying to wrap my brain around so I
Yeah.
have a response.
A lot of times we do things like that, and I was expecting them to read my brain. Like that's really the main point of
Yeah.
it, and tell me what I wanted to hear.
Right.
Like I wanted to be told what I wanted to hear.
Yes.
Because again, what is that going to do for me?
Right. Nothing, but
It's their opinion.
yeah, but it would make you feel so that I think that's the thing. When you realized you were tweaked about it, and did you realize though when you were putting it up in the moment that that's why you were doing it? Oh, you did. You already knew.
Yeah.
But now you're like, but because I was torqued because I didn't get the response, now you can take a step back and say, I shouldn't have posted it anyway because just me being happy about it should have been enough. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I still would have posted it because it was just one of those things where actually and truly, like, you want to put it out there for family who you don't live nearby or weren't able to make it or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
But
we all do that for, I mean, that's one beautiful thing about social media is that it keeps us in contact, like our extended family and people that are
yeah,
distance can sort of keep up.
yes and no. I mean, it is good on that, but like most of it is for us to get love and compliments, right? I mean, it serves a purpose. I mean, again, I work with it, so
Yeah,
but because you can text your family members pictures.
that's fair. You can share it on text. They don't have to see it
Yep,
on.
you can do a group text.
Yeah, but I guess it would be more for like that friend from high school that you haven't seen in years. But then again, it's like, are you just wanting their opinion or like you're just,
Yeah, that's a
yeah,
false connection.
yeah,
If you wanted to talk to that person was in your life,
yeah,
then you would visit them when you went back to your
it's true.
hometown.
Well, I think this is a really interesting point you bring up because we now have social media
Yeah,
and everybody's living their lives right in front of our faces and it all looks perfect, which it's not. We didn't have that before. It lends itself to even more so like craving other people's
it
validation
can.
and worrying about what their opinions are on your life.
It can.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I'm being like, listen, I love it. I'm on there every day. I'm checking it out. I'm reading if your, hamster died or whatever. I'm keeping up with the news.
My heart goes out to you.
Yeah, right. Um, but so I'm not above it by any means. I'm
Yeah.
just saying, the people that are on there, you can just smell it, right?
Yes.
Am I the only one?
No, I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
Yep. For
And
sure.
and so I'm just saying there's nothing wrong with that, but like that's a hamster wheel that it just again, you can't control what somebody else is going to comment or say about you. So like if you've grown wary of that, this as many of us have in this phase of our life, it's all about doing that for yourself.
Yes, that is the crux of this conversation is like, and I think a lot of us, I hope a lot of us are sick of that, wanting those people's
To
opinions.
each their own, but I am. I mean, and we're like social creatures, so to some extent we need to worry about what people are thinking or especially the people we care about because that's what keeps us alive. Like
Yes.
if you were like blatantly if I was blatantly uncaring of like I don't care what your opinion is of me at all, I'm just going to do whatever I want to do, like
That's not good
that's an
either.
extreme, and I think that takes you over to like, dare I say, like sociopathic status, you know what I mean, where you're just sort of like an enigma on your own. Like you don't ever want to get to that place. But I think the constructive part of this is that, to your example, like don't let other people's validation or the threat of them withdrawing that cloud your wishes for what it is that you want for yourself.
Right.
Right? Because we're all trying to figure that out right now. We have a major chance to potentially make a big life change.
Right. And if you're making those life changes, I mean, just gosh, that's really, I mean, we're talking about just little things like what I'm going to hang on the wall or what I'm wearing or like, which we can get wrapped up in too. And again, it's kind of like that conversation where your life happens in the little day to day things, right? So those things, because they happen all the time. But if you're really setting other people's opinions, you're taking other people's opinions on like what your goals should be for your life, that's really a problem.
Mm, yeah. And how about this? You're so right. Let that sink in. Like just let that sink in,
Mm-hmm.
right? If their opinions matter more than your opinions for your life, that is something to look at and
Yep.
focus on. And also, here's another danger: when somebody says something that is negative. So when you're listening to the negative side of things and it taps into an insecurity.
Yes.
And a lot of times I see this, people lash out on social media,
Yep.
right? But a piece of this letting go of their opinion is also in the instance when you get criticized. Because if it's not coming from a good place, or even if it is, likely that person is tapping into something that is an insecurity for you. Like, I can't imagine it would be maybe it is. Maybe you're insecure about your decorating or something. But like, that's probably just.
That's a frivolous thing.
Yeah.
I was using that just as a simple example to make the bigger ones more
here's
understandable.
Here's the deal. If somebody tried to tell you that the sky was purple,
yeah,
you would say they're crazy.
Or I would say, is it purple? Let me think about this, because maybe on certain times of day it could be, depending on what the sun was doing. I'm pretty sure
that's
it's
a window
blue,
into
if
that's a window
it,
into who you are.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
That's how my brain works.
Okay, so I guess self-assuredness is sort of a spectrum, and you can be anywhere on that scale, right? If somebody tried to tell me the sky was purple, okay, maybe green. How about if we said the sky is green? You would still try to. Maybe the sky is green. Now
that's
I'm like,
fair.
I'm questioning myself.
No, that's fair, because the purple is more easy to understand, because sometimes the sky does look purple. So the green, then I think even me would say, nope, you're wrong.
Okay. So, right?
You proved your point.
You're not going to believe them.
Right.
This is the truth. If you know something to be false,
right,
you're going to say, I release you to believe whatever you believe, but you're crazy.
Yeah.
Right? Or you're wrong.
Yeah.
So, but when somebody says something, criticizes something negative about you that you believe, or you have an insecurity about it, that's why it hits. It's not because of what they said. So let go of that. It's because they've held up a mirror to something that you don't like about yourself.
I would agree with you probably most of the time, but I just had this happen to me, actually. And sometimes it's a case of somebody says something to you that actually is not something that you're feeling insecure or negative about. So let it go. It's just that they said something that was
so rude or so mean.
So not true, first of all, and not okay. That's for me what has sent me down this road of like, I've got to take a step back and really start like doing some inner like soul searching. Because I had this conversation with somebody, and literally during the conversation, and it's somebody that I care about, was like full stop, like an idiot, crying, because I was like, oh my gosh, I'm like a terrible person. I can't believe I did this. I felt so bad about myself. And thank goodness somebody that I know just happened to randomly text me, and I was like falling apart. And she was like, what just happened? And I laid a little bit of out, and she was like, hold on a second. I don't know who A, the other person thinks she is, and B, what are you crying about? You didn't do anything wrong. But besides that, my kids, I'm in my office, so everybody hears everything. And my husband overheard some of it, and my kids. And they were all like, what just happened? Like, who just laced into you? And as I explained it to them, they were like, and my husband's pretty harsh with me. Like, if he thinks I'm in the wrong, he's not afraid to tell me. He does not puff me up. He is like, no way, Brooke. No way. And I had to take a step back and go, because then when I started to process it with people I care about, I was like, I didn't do any of the things that she just said I did. But I was on the phone taking her opinion of me and like crying, like, oh my gosh, like I'm such a terrible person. I have character flaws that I need to work on.
So, well,
that goes along with this conversation, don't you think?
So let's go back to that, but because it doesn't sound like you believed, she thought she was in the right, or she believed whatever she believed, but you did not agree with that. So to stay in this conversation, that just incited your anger, which is a good thing in that situation. If you disagree, it's sort of like righteousness or indignant.
It is
indignancy about somebody saying something you didn't believe. So that would be the same thing as like somebody arguing with you that the sky is green, right? You'd be like, you are crazy. If you cared enough to defend the sky, right? Which most of us care enough to defend ourselves, you're going to raise your back. What I'm talking about is like, if somebody says something about you that you actually feel about yourself, and you believe them and you give a lot of weight to their opinion, and so you try to do different, and you try to like make that person see, oh, I'm different, I'm changing it, or this isn't true, or then they hold the power, not you.
Yes.
Right? So, but if you stop in that moment and you realize, okay, they can think whatever they think.
Right.
Okay. But the reason this hurts me is because there's some part of me that believes that they could possibly be right, and I don't like that. So I'm not talking about your situation. I'm just like a more straight. That sounds like it had layers to it. So this is just a more straightforward when somebody has um like tapped into something that you feel like if you feel like you're struggling with your weight and you're overweight and somebody mentions you're fluffy or something. I mean, it's so rude. You shouldn't do that.
Oh, that's awful.
But
Yeah.
they don't hold the power to make you feel a certain way.
Right.
You make yourself feel that way because you feel you could be fluffy. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm just saying it's like why I'm going to this extreme to like beat this conversation to this place is
No, I think it's
because
healthy to do
it's
this.
important to know that ultimately you have control.
Which
If they
is
were
where
standing
I
in front
landed.
of you and you were like, 19% body fat as a woman and you are in the gym every day and you're bust your ass and you've got muscle and you're doing all the things and somebody looks at you and says, geez, you're a little fluffy today. You look at them like they might as well have said the sky is green.
Right. And that's exactly how this played out, because somebody said something to me that I would, after, and I probably would have gotten there on my own. It probably would have just taken me some time, but I was so caught off guard that in the moment I was believing it. And then I stepped back and I was like, that's a like bold face, like if you really know me, you know that I am 100% don't carry that character trait at all in anything that you look at in my life. So it's the same thing with if you know that if you can stand strong in yourself and know I've been in the gym, I've been doing this, whatever she says, it doesn't really matter. So it was the same type of a situation for me, but I think sometimes you can get taken off guard, or even if there are instances, and this is the problem I think in general for some women, is that there are instances where you know something to be true about yourself, but if you care so much about other people's opinions and they say different, you can start to believe it.
Exactly.
And that's I think that's what this conversation
that can
is.
happen
And
to
that
the best of us.
conversation frightened me because I think I would have gotten there on my own, but had people that I really hold in very, very high regard, that are my super, super duper inner circle, not spoken the truth to me, I could have walked away from that reeling. And that's the conversation we're having, is that you have to hold on to who you are as a person. And I think that's what made me reassess, like, okay, like, you can't be so easily swayed by what people say to you. You can't, like, if you know who you are, sometimes we need to hear hard truths if they're right. You have to discern between, like, oh, okay, maybe what she's saying is right. Maybe I need to, or he or whoever, maybe this is something I need to evaluate. But like, you also have to be at a place where you're confident enough in yourself and your own character, whatever it is that you do, right? This is the conversation we're having, that you can let that go.
Yeah.
And you can also, and if you can be healthy enough and strong enough to say, okay, this is the thing we also talk about. Like, people can say and do whatever they want to you. You get to choose how you let it affect you.
Right. Your response.
So there's a case of something that certainly I think we can all work on, is like, how do you have enough, we talked about confidence in yourself, self-worth maybe, but also getting to a place where you can let go of what somebody says, especially if it's not true, and not let it sway you or bother you so much. Because people are going to say stuff like that all the time. We're all imperfect humans.
Mm-hmm.
So nobody's going to live up to your expectations on things they say, but right, that's a tricky thing.
Yeah. So getting back to the purity of the topic, it's just like being able to just, swipe left on that.
Yes.
Right. And coming back to the heart of your beliefs in yourself, which, if you haven't listened to our confidence episode, go back and listen to that. And, the more that you build that confidence muscle, the more easily it is to allow other people's opinions of you, to sort of like, and I, like you said, sometimes you need to hear it. And sometimes you don't like it. But if you feel like, even if that person believes that this is my right next step, then you have to be okay with whatever comes along with that.
Right. And you also have to be okay with saying, like, everybody's entitled to their opinion. She can say what she wants. She can think what she wants. It doesn't mean I have to believe it. It doesn't mean I have to, like, she's allowed to feel the way she feels too. I think what she thinks and say what she wants. But you can choose how you're going to accept it or how that's going to validate or not validate you.
That's just what happens. It's
Right.
like life is a series and relationships are a series of like you taking data in as far as what people say, but not even what they say. It's more what they do.
Right.
The words are nice and the words are often a reflection because it's really hard to just like completely snow someone. Like you words just slip out when you're comfortable with people. Your true words slip out of really how you feel, right? They just
Yeah.
do. And but when you're judging people, when we're judging people on a daily basis, like it's usually their actions, right? And that is what we do. We take in the data of the actions of the people that in our life, and we determine if they're compatible with where we're going or what we're
Sure.
doing. And sometimes those people aren't. We're not in the. We're not kind of vibrating in the same areas, and sometimes we are. And I think it's sort of like a wave, like especially with like friendships that you've invested in over time. And
Sure.
anyway, we're going way deep, but
We were saying how we wanted to start
start
keeping
keeping
topics
it
light,
easy.
and now all of a sudden we
Well,
went
let's go
deeper
back to
than
the
deep as deep could get.
let's go back to the part about finding your voice, because for me, like literally when I listen to myself on this podcast, and when we first started it out, for sure, I mean, I feel like um you you your confidence comes out in your voice, like you can hear it. So when you feel more in tune and you're happier with yourself and you're more confident in yourself,
Sure.
your voice is stronger.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think, I don't know, maybe this seems like a thing, right? Like I want to find my voice. It's thrown out there very often with women in middle age, especially.
Yeah.
Like finding your voice, looking for your voice. I think it's metaphorical for like a vehicle for them to like share who they are, like their purpose almost. But
do you take that more literally? Like it's not, and we're getting heady again, but
I'm
when you
taking
say
it literally in this instance
like
because
speaking, not just
speaking.
because finding your voice can mean like being authentic in your true self too.
Maybe it's because I don't
Or
like
maybe it's
my
both.
yeah, I've like listened to myself back, and I think sometimes throughout my life when I've spoken, I sound a little mousy, right? Women get criticized for that, and a lot of men will walk in the room if they're speaking and it just the confidence comes through.
Yeah.
And I think that we don't need to compare ourselves to them. Everybody, they are who they are and they get there however they get there. Same with us. We are who we are and we get there however we get there. But
Right.
when you feel that confidence, I believe your voice gets stronger. At least it is in
Yes.
my experience.
I agree. I think, well, I mean, we can say that for ourselves just with talking as much as we do on Life After Kids.
This is true.
Which
It's
is very
repetitive.
helpful. But what would you say, like for me, if I was trying to think of some strategy around that? Because it's easy to say, well, find your voice. But like, how do I do that is the question.
I agree.
And I think for me, there's two things there. I think it's you have to practice. Like you have to practice speaking up for yourself. You have to practice like getting comfortable enough to speak up for yourself and speaking your truth or speaking your opinion or whatever that is. And I do think there's a piece of also, if you really want to find your voice, learning to be a little bit vulnerable with what you say and not, vulnerable, because sometimes talk about taking a risk to really like share your heart and really speak up, or your opinion on something does take a lot of vulnerability because probably everyone's not going to like it.
Yeah.
There's always going to be somebody that doesn't, right? So,
yep.
And that's what do you think about that?
I don't know if we solved anything today, but we definitely exposed some truths and got you guys thinking about confidence and letting go of other people's opinions and letting go of that need for that validation, because there's never enough validation from outside to fill you up. There's never enough compliments. And if you chase that, you're just going to be hitting your head against the wall for eons, So just get it from the source. Start giving it to yourself. The source is you. That's what I mean when I say that. Like, when you do something good, congratulate yourself, bask in that, make sure you celebrate. We have a tendency to brush things aside. Write down in your 5-year journal so you can look back and see all your gains and celebrate that and feel confident in that.
And your core values come into that too, I think, because the more that you spend time sitting in that and knowing what you do value, it's easier to let go of other people's opinions, because you can take it. You have a mirror right there to say, like,
for sure,
what's important to you. And if it doesn't align other people's opinions, it doesn't matter. Like,
the value exercise that we have in our module, the I think number 1 module, right, is on our website and in our pillar in our Instagram, is probably one of the most important exercises you could do.
I agree, especially as we're having this conversation, because I feel like we talked a lot about the problem, but didn't give a lot of good, like, well, here's what to do about it.
Well, I do have a couple tips.
Yeah, please
if it
share
is something
those.
that somebody says to you and they like say that fluffy example, right? So if somebody says that to me, I'm going to be pretty sensitive about it because that's an insecurity that I have. Okay. So what would I do to get over that? So identify the source is the first step. Is this a person who really has your best interests at heart? Or is this just somebody wanting to get a rise out of you? Right?
So good.
Determine who this person is and what weight they carry. And if they're just I'm going to use the word nobody, but you know what I mean? In the, that's not nice. But if they're not somebody that's going to matter to,
I know what you're saying,
what you're doing in your life, then just swipe left. Is it, I don't use those apps. Is it swipe right?
I don't know. But
swipe
I know
right to keep, and I think swipe left to discard. Okay. The next thing that you do is challenge that thought. So, gosh, that person, whatever they said, you probably have an irrational insecurity about that. Let's face it. It's probably not true. Or even if there's a little bit of truth in it, you could debunk a good majority of that thought, of that compliment. So whatever it was that person said to you, you could take that and you could debunk that. Well, here's evidence to prove otherwise.
Which is what I did.
Yep. Exactly.
That's really these are all great tips. Go on.
And then the third thing is just replace it, reframe it with the positives. Exactly. So just, laugh at it, turn it around, replace it with something more positive. And then always, 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 I've already alluded to this, but focus on your accomplishment in that area. So, I mean, from me in my 20s and some of the pictures that I've seen of myself to now, oh my gosh, it's a night and day difference, and I'm proud of that. And I would stay in that. So whatever that thing is for you, I'm sure you have some improvements, some accomplishments in that area. So go to that and stay in that place. And then practice self-compassion. I mean, again, just give yourself some grace. Like, that stung. Like, we're not supposed to be so tough that things don't hurt. We're vulnerable. We stay open, so things are likely to hurt. Right? So just, man, that sucked. Just be compassionate. Do what you would do for a friend in that instance. If it was someone else, do that for yourself. And then the last step is just to build confidence by really always trying to stay in the lane that you can excel in, because when you're there, whatever your genius zone is or your strength zone, and we talk about that in one of our modules too, but when you're in the place of, just deep competence, I guess, with how it aligns with the things that you do with your unique talents that you do so well, and you find ways, purpose.
Yes.
This is our main message, to walk that out regularly. You get so much confidence from that, and you just have this tendency to just be able to, like, again, more easily discard the fluff, the distraction, because you're so busy wanting to get back to what it is that you do great.
This is one of the many reasons I love you, but that was so much genius right there. like coming from a girl who just stated that it's something that she's really working on this year. And I know when you get to this episode, it'll be further along in the year, but right now we're still in January. So I'm still thinking through my goals, and I'm literally like, and I'm not just puffing you up, you know me well enough, but I'm
You can
not
do that.
also trying to
I
sell
don't need
us
your
on all of
external
you.
validation though.
That's right. You don't, because you're comfortable with yourself. But I'm not joking you when I say I'm like, I need to literally write every one of those down and put them on a sticky note or a piece of paper or both, and like in my planner and next to my desk and on my bathroom mirror to remember those. That is such good, simple, doable, applicable, and practical advice.
Oh, thanks.
And I do mean that from somebody who struggles with that. Like, I'm listening to that going, yes, of course those are the ways that I build. Of course, like it just is. Yes, and I would have never gotten there on my own.
We got there.
Like it's easy to, not easy, but like it's one thing to unpack all this stuff and talk about how it makes you feel and like what we're struggling with. It's a whole nother thing then to take it another step and say, yeah, okay, but what are we going to do about it? Because we don't want to just sit here and complain about it, because that's not serving any purpose. So I hope you stayed long enough to get past the complaining about it and hearing the good that came out of it. And do you have anything else before we wrap? Because I just want to.
No, that one is, put a sticker on it. It's what's that saying? Put a
Sold?
No, like
I know what you mean,
yeah.
but I don't know what it is either.
I'm too busy going through the ways to let go of other opinions that I can't come up with the words.
You can't think of it.
Analogy.
So I will share one last thing before we go, because I think it's fitting. On my goals framework, on the Life After Kids goals framework, which was what I used, at the top of it, there's an area to put like your encouraging phrases or scriptures. So we have a center part where all your goals come out. That's your word for the year. But then at the top, there's a place for encouraging phrases or scripture. And one of mine for this year is, and if you want it, get back to me and I'll give you like the chapter, like because I don't have that memorized yet, the reference point for it, but it's from the Bible, and it is, let me make sure, I don't have it fully memorized yet. Her confidence will come from doing what is right and being herself, and not in other people's opinions of her.
It's great. It's a very simple, clean mantra to live by.
It's so good. Yeah. For me, like I'm like holding on to that. So anyway, ladies, sorry we got so deep and a little aggressive there.
No apologies. Just is what it is.
It is. It's. We had a raw conversation. I know so many of you love that word. Have a great day. I'm skipping right ahead. If you're not following us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, make sure you do so to keep up with everything that's happening in the Life After Kids community. You can find us on the website at www.lifeafterkids.com. That's where we have all of our free resources and the blog. And if you want to watch instead of listen, we're on YouTube. Ladies, I hope you have a great day and an even better week.